What are the keys to good health? What are the cornerstones?
Sleep.
Exercise, eating good,
positive mental attitude,
cardio, playing in the band.
Laughing a lot.
I train Muay Thai, I train Jiu-Jitsu, I run, I do calisthenics, I lift weights. I kind of keep yoga, I keep it interesting. I break
sick shape.
I break it all up. Because, like you said, we're not getting any younger, right? So
He's the biggest, handsomest, buffest dude in the band.
And the youngest.
And the youngest.
I would say that some of my band members are more handsome than I am.
But you're pretty.
But I also say that some were not. The ladies, you can decide. Make your decision on who is. We got a MySpace message recently saying this was the most handsome creature on the planet. Did you see that?
She was blind. She was like 52 and blind.
She was like her friend. She freaked out when she saw a picture of us.
They say your dad is really handsome.
This is the George Clooney thing, right? I mean,
that's what I said. I said we're entering. Some of us are in our Clooney phase. Some of us are entering our 007 phase. Then you get into your Hefner phase. But not many people can do the Hef thing.
no.
So Clooney's like the last hurrah.
So what phase are girls in when they're going for Todd?
Tough
I'm married.
Yeah.
Girls are going through a very peculiar phase.
People come to our shows are.
You like to kind of lift off stray dogs and stuff.
People.
Nobody really fucks with TF. Couple dudes here and that's fine though. Come on,
How has
Todd.
society changed since we were younger?
Computers for one.
How has what changed?
Society.
Cell phones.
Cell phones, computers, and also
Blackberries, iPods.
tattoos being accepted on people.
Yeah, lately.
Television and media has created a thing where it's you can have a neck tattoo and get a job. Like it doesn't matter anymore, especially in the U.S. That's kind of crazy.
Before, the only tattoos you see in the Midwest is when a band's traveling through and everyone stares at you. Now you can turn on the Learning Channel. And
Yeah, it's
and
crazy.
see it. So it's
We're not freaks anymore. We're normal.
It's interesting to see that once again, since the 70s, it's completely accepted for men to wear makeup. Men to wear eye makeup and do strange things with their hair and wear women's clothes. Without being transvestites.
That happened all in the 1700s too.
Yeah? Exactly, I was going to say French Revolution. They used to cut people's heads off for that. You know, so it's nice that these people have an outlet to get their, makeup and tight pants happening. I feel like it's like the mullet. Like some of this, like guys think it's like you look at people in the 80s, they look back at themselves with mullets and they're like, wow, what the fuck was I thinking? I had a mullet. And I'm concerned that these people are going to have the same reaction. You know, like in years to come, they look back and be like, fuck, dude, look at me, I got like eye makeup on and mascara and I'm a dude. And then, and here's the
Kids
thing.
made millions of dollars doing it.
Here's the thing, right? Look at the real live badasses like Steve McQueen, badass, right? Is anyone any of us Clint Eastwood?
Sean Connery.
Hard. Sean Penn.
Sean Penn.
Yeah.
Hard. I don't know. I just think it's weird. I just think it's a strange thing, and maybe it's because I'm older and I don't get it. But I think like there's a timeless like masculine appearance that, and it's not about sexuality because I don't give a damn about that. Like you can do whatever you want, be whoever you want, etc., etc., etc. Just personally, I was away from the music scene for a long time. Bought Alternative Press magazine, which I hadn't read in like years, because I was like, oh, what's out there right now? And I was amazed, like, at how when I stopped, everything looked a certain way, like being involved in it. And when I came back,
For sure.
everything had made such a drastic kind of leaning in this one direction. And I was like, holy shit, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, no, there's anything wrong. I mean, honestly, the truth of the matter is, if this kid's time, these guys' time, this is the fashion, and so I can follow it.
Yeah.
But for me personally, I was shocked by the extent of just how everybody kind of had this one.
Look, yeah.
In this one magazine that I bought, I was like, holy shit, everyone's like.
It's crazy.
And then we went to this festival, I'm like, holy shit, there's thousands of these people. You know what I mean? It's like, fuck, I look like a weirdo.
But in the same topic, you have nice hair though.
Thanks, Bert. I spent hours on it.
Was being on a major as bad as all the stories led on?
Yeah, I mean, a major label was definitely a crapshoot for anybody, and I think that our timing was good and bad. I mean, we signed to a label that had Blink-182 on it and New Found Glory on it, and those bands were doing really successful then. At the same time, that was the only kind of type genre that label could kind of push us over to, because there was no other bands that were from that kind of world. And we had a great A&R guy that followed us from our first album until that album, and we finally signed with him. It was just timing, and I think that, it was a great, it was a good experience and a bad experience. We got the most money we ever got in our lives to make an album, the longest time to make an album. We got a lot of opportunities that we never have gotten, and then, and then that label actually went under.
Just I want to point out though that
any label you sign to is a crapshoot.
Yeah, that's true.
It doesn't matter if it's an indie or a major or whatever.
But you get more focus on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just all about the timing and who's working for you. It could be fucking Epitaph, it could be fucking Bridge 9, it could be MCA, whatever. They're either going to do you right or they're just going to suck. That's how they have all been.
That's true.
Major or indie.
You just give more money to that major.
Yeah, the advantages to being on a major are fairly apparent in that you have access to much greater resources, specifically financial, than you do on a lot of indies. I mean, you know, like there were tours that we went on when we were on MCA that we might not have been affordable or financially viable for us to do without tour support from the label.
Tour support, and then like the label doing some sort of ad campaign.
Yeah, exactly. So that's good. I mean, with an indie, there tends to be a finite amount of money, you know. And majors is a lot, at least in our experience, it's been a lot about kind of like playing the game. If you got the right guy on, the one right key person on your band's team, so to speak, you would have access to a lot more opportunities than if you didn't. You know, with an indie, it seems like you have like a little bit, you know, everything's a little bit more tight.
It's just like when we were touring like on Epitaph Records, somebody would submit one of their bands to our booking agent going, oh, these guys are in a major label and they have all this, they're going to get marketing, they all say you should take them on tour. We don't want to take them on tour, I don't like their band, but you should take it because they're on a major, maybe was pumping all this money into them to do ads. So that we became that kind of band where we could get on some tours if the label was kind of pushed. But most of the tours we got were just because of our friends, you know, like Boxcar Racer. We were like the hardcore band on a major label. It was kind of weird for us because we were so hands-on, so not DIY, but so hands-on that it was kind of like what are we doing on here? Yeah. You know, like
I mean, in hindsight, both for specifically for New Folk and for Boxcar Racer, knowing a little bit more about the industry now, I see those bands had very good financial incentives to take us on tour because we were on the same label. Much like we were just talking about earlier today.
Yeah.
You know,
but on Epitaph, we could call. I'd stay at Brett Rhodes' house. I'd call him on the phone, and now at Bridge 9, we can talk to those guys directly if we need anything. It's like so hands-on, like we are, and so, you know, we could have made the exact same record we just made on MCA for like $10, you know. So it's crazy.
Last thing, quick. Nike.
Yes.
The influence of Nike on hardcore music.
Yeah.
People collect shoes now. It wasn't like that so much in the 90s.
Well, let me tell you this. In 1988, Nike came out with the Air Max 1, which is the first vegan Nike shoe ever made. It was Durable. Everybody in Youth Crew were wearing the Vans and Converse in the Manhattan, fucking freezing to death for the animals. When that Nike came out, that changed the whole game. If you can look back at all those records, everybody's wearing Nike Air Maxes and Air Trainers when they first came out. So these kids these days, they don't know that out. They don't know the history of that. Like Gorilla Biscuits and Youth Today, they're all rocking Nikes. You look at some of those records. So that was when it first got introduced to hardcore. You know what I mean? I used to call people, they used to call Token Entry sneaker skins because they'd be shaved down, look like skins, but they were sneakers. You know what I'm saying? Like it was like a New York kind of thing. But they were Adidas and they would wear like the Converse, the Sambas and all that shit. But yeah, I mean Nikes have been there for a long time. You know, like especially the Youth Crew shit is one that brought it to the forefront. I'm sure it disappeared over the 90s and then now it's really trendy because all the streetwear clothing and all that shit. But it's always been there, man. And but what happened in the late 90s and the early 2000s, they started coming out with those again. They reissued all those Air Max 1s and shit like that. So then it became like, yeah, just, I don't know, just got into hardcore, you know, just like cut-off army shorts have always been hardcore, you know, just one staple thing that's been in there, you know, band t-shirts and fucking streets with the tight choker bead necklaces and champion hoodies. It's always come and go, but yeah, I mean, it's crazy in hardcore now. It's like, it's nuts. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I got Nike swooshes tattooed on my feet. Back in the day, if you wore Nikes, that was like being on a major label. Like you get this, you were in corporate, you're corporate wearing Nikes, it's corporate, like with a real PC and hardcore, you know what I'm saying? Like you would get in trouble like wearing Nikes. It wasn't politically correct because there was sweatshops and this and that, you know? That's what they were saying. But now it's like, yeah, it's crazy now. So it did full circle, you know, it went from being not cool to wear them to, like that was the shit back then, you know. There was like the high tops of all canvas, and that was exciting because there was nobody making shoes that were vegan back then, you know. And that's the '80s, and that's before all these new kids became militant and said Nike sucked. I mean, I bet they'd be wearing Nikes if they were freezing their ass in Manhattan in the '80s. You know what I'm saying? Like, but now there's so many other alternatives and just Nikes that aren't vegan and blah blah blah. But back then it was like holy shit, and they were comfortable. And I mean, bands could wear them on stage and not wear flat-footed Vans. I want to do my history though. I did 88 or 9. I remember that shit came out. It was crazy. I couldn't even afford them, dude. All the other guys are getting them, and I finally get a pair for my job.